Hello everyone, it's Greg from Hank here. We are joining us for our second video with Liane from Mama Codes. The first video, if you haven't checked it out already, was more about understanding coding and what maybe you might want to find about what that can do for your child. This really, I'm trying to find out more about Mama Codes and what they're doing and the exciting stuff they've got ongoing. I'll probably touched on this at the end, but there is a code coming out, so check out the Mama Codes website, and there is a discount code that will be circulating on the socials. So have a look. Liane, hello.
Hi.
So kind of want to get into you and the Mama Code story.
Yeah.
How did you set it up? What's going on?
Thanks so much for inviting me. And, congratulations on Hank. It's an awesome idea. So I set up Mama Codes with two other mums working across digital and tech in London back in 2017. And we had quite young kids. I guess they ranged from 3 to 6. And many of us, we all had at least one girl, and we were women in tech, and we had found that the tech sector was quite exclusive to us. It felt like we weren't really invited. And that was really the impetus for me to think, I don't want my kids to feel that this isn't for them.
Yeah.
I've kind of found my way into tech in a roundabout way via journalism and humanities and all sorts of things. I came to STEM in my mid-30s as a journalist working on a big tech project, and the developers I was working with said, we're going to teach you to code in your lunch hour.
Awesome.
And I had this epiphany of, wow, I thought it was like the Matrix and boring and impenetrable, and actually it's really creative, and it's a tool to create all sorts of products for the future and that can make our lives better and that can make the world better, and I want a piece of it, and I don't want my children to ever think they can't do this. And I started looking as a parent of a 6 and 3 or almost 3-year-old to find some nice tools and games that I might play with them at home, and that might teach me how to do the homework that might come down the pipe because coding had just been added to the school curriculum. And my daughter hadn't mentioned anything about coding. So I thought, well, is she doing it? What's school doing? She can't be enjoying it if I'm not hearing about it, and that's not good enough for me. So I found there was a bit of a gap. There were some very quick games. Hour of Code is a great website for parents who can check out some initial things they can play with their children, but it's not a whole learning pathway. It's not going to keep them engaged for, say, a term or two and really get some mastery of something. And then the stuff that was more involved, I couldn't understand. So I was really looking for something that I could understand, that offered a valid, long learning experience for them, and that would engage a highly creative, fairly, flighty 6-year-old and a screen-obsessed 3-year-old who was beginning to develop some quite bad habits.
That's amazing, a really positive story, lots of good things going on there. So I think, most motivated parents want the best for their kids, obviously goes without saying. Yeah. And it's a really interesting area, full of growth, full of career potential.
Absolutely.
And, tech is obviously everywhere in our lives right now. So it sounds a very good idea to understand a little bit more about it. So what a great initiative.
Well, thank you. And, tech's everywhere in our lives in a number of ways. It's absolutely invaded childhood and family life, hasn't it? So that was a big impetus for me as well, to sort of master it, to read into it and find more constructive ways of using it in moderation, understand how to sort of manage it really. The most positive screen time experiences I could find that were creative, that were not passive, they were sort of active and involved the child being in charge of their screen and not the other way around. But it's also, as you say, entering every sector of the economy really, and tech skills are absolutely becoming the most vital currency. Sure. So not only do we need tech skills in every sector, but we don't have enough people studying it. And so all of these things kind of came together, as well as the inclusion piece of wanting every child to feel that they could come and code and try it and fall in love with it early enough that they hadn't experienced any biases to feel that they were left out.
Amazing.
And so I ended up starting Mama Codes again as a bit of a side hustle. It was a few parents invited to my house, looped up the iPads to the TV and got them coding a little game in an app called Scratch Junior, which is a free app that people can try. And it's actually the first app that we developed a curriculum for, so that our tutors would actually guide a child to more advanced levels than a parent might. And if my kids had anything to go by, it would get them over the sort of plateau they reach of just literally recording sort of fart noises and making poo jokes in this app.
Sounds good.
So that now they could actually code Shakespeare and all sorts of worthy things as well as the poo jokes.
Amazing. Right. Very cool. So let's imagine I've got a 3-year-old, I've got a 6-year-old, but let's imagine he's 3. What's the journey from? What does it look like when we engage with Mama Codes? What's our experience?
As a parent.
Yeah, well, and as a child.
As a family. So your experience as a family when you engage with Mama Codes is that we really want you to feel part of the club, a club that's in the know, that gets all the briefings that you need about what we call raising digital kids.
Yeah.
That's the digital skills that they do need to develop to survive and thrive in a really technology-fueled world, both in their professional future life and in their personal life right now, and to keep their data safe and to feel in charge of their digital lives. But it's also about keeping them safe online and having that know-how of, what is happening in technology, what are the apps to watch out for, the games that might be problematic, actually what to let go of a little bit and let them tinker with and let them break and make with a bit more online. And then obviously the coding piece is about giving them that digital literacy, which is the building block of all digital careers, whether you're going to be designing websites or creating apps and innovating, creating your own startup. We all know that there's a huge threat to job security with automation and AI as well.
Yeah.
And humans really have to kind of cultivate the characteristics and skills that will keep us competitive with those technologies and to be able to control and commission them as well.
Amazing. I think one thing we touched on in the last film, but screen time, because we're sort of encouraging more screen time here, aren't we? And I'm sure most parents worried about that a great issue. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's a really complex area, and I do speak quite often about this. So I'd encourage people to join our free newsletter called Raising Digital Kids and follow our Instagram, where I do quite a lot of talks and answer Q&As on this. It really varies by age. It really varies by child and their temperament as to how much is the right amount of screen time. What's important to me is to think about it a little like their food intake across a week, perhaps, rather than obsess about every minute of allowance per day. Because really what you want, I think, is to encourage a child to use technology intentionally for a purpose.
Yeah.
So if they're doing something which is a massive Minecraft build of the Colosseum in Minecraft, and it's going to take up quite a lot of time and it's going to bust out their limits, I kind of think that's quite cool, and it's got a natural end to it. They're not just picking up a habit that they're mindlessly scrolling something or consuming something or playing something. And I don't think it's healthy to say in the middle of that amazing mission that they're on, you need to stop because it's 2 minutes past your 40 minutes of screen time. Imagine how annoying that would be for you if somebody said, you can't complete watching that video you're watching because you've had your limit. And I do actually set timeouts for my own phone in the evenings, so I know how annoying that is. But I do think it is important to have some boundaries. It's important to get their buy-in. So I talk quite a lot about ways in which we can talk to children in language they understand, even at quite a young age, about what I'm worried about because of the iPad or because of the TV or all these things. And did you know that it can actually hurt your eyes and make you find it harder to go to sleep? So we're going to agree that in this family, we put down our devices at least an hour before we go to bed, and we don't do this and we don't do that, and ask them what is reasonable in their opinion about how much time they might have on a screen after school, for example, and is that different on a weekend maybe? And you'd be surprised, they probably suggest quite a low number of minutes, unless they're particularly savvy, per day, and you'd probably allow them to have a bit more. But I would just say all screen time's not created equal. Creating a book or a video or a music compilation in GarageBand is creative, it's intentional, it's project-based. Mindlessly scrolling the next view on YouTube or watching stunt videos or playing high cortisol-inducing games is a totally different type of screen time. And kids need to play. They need some unstructured time and some exploratory time in a sort of safe walled garden online. But it's about the balance. It's about what they're doing, the balance of what they're doing online, but it's also about online and offline experiences and making sure that they are having some social interaction, having some exercise, having some outside time, and making sure that's not excluded by the screen time. But it's all about, is it enriching their lives by all these extra cool things they're allowed to do? Like my son's obsessed with Google Maps and Google Earth. He's always visiting the pyramids and stuff on these tools, which is amazing. And he couldn't do that without technology. But, I wouldn't feel quite as cool about it if he was constantly just playing one game that had him apart from the rest of the family in the real world.
Okay, amazing. And then just specifically about how the courses work. There are online courses and there are some in real life courses, aren't there?
Yeah, absolutely. So before the pandemic, we were all in-person classes, and we had a franchise network growing around London. Once the pandemic hit, we actually switched to online classes, and we've largely stayed there. I'd say about 85% of our classes are online.
Okay.
And I actually think that the experience as a learner is better because you can share your screen, you have a maximum of 6 children in a class, and the tutor can really engage with that child and teach them how to use the video call software very successfully. And it's nothing like homeschool was in lockdown, if anyone's having kind of trigger moments because of that. We have expert tutors who are very engaging and fun, and they really build lovely relationships with the children. The children also can meet friends and make friends in the classes, or they can build a class with their friends. Then on the in-person side, we have holiday camps mostly in every school holiday and half term, where you can drop off the children, or we run them online as well across London. And we're increasing actually home-based clubs, so sort of we come to you model, where if you want to just have a kind of super cool coding party in the holidays, you can invite up to 5 friends and tutor will come to your house with all the kits.
A coding party.
Coding
You heard
party.
it here first.
And tell them it's a party, they'll want to do it.
Yeah,
Right?
sounds good, actually. Good idea. So will my child become some sort of Neo from the Matrix, a hacker, or perhaps even Bill Gates?
Well, hopefully they will become, a tech entrepreneur who invents something absolutely incredible for the world. I understand entirely a parent's nervousness about teaching their child something that they might be ahead of the parent on.
Yeah.
And that's really why with Mama Code's philosophy, we want to empower the parents with lots of information, bite-sized information to consume about technology at the same time. So you're coming on a learning journey with your child. I think there's this image, isn't there, of the Matrix? Coding is just ones and zeros flying past your face, but it really isn't. It's super colourful. The age-appropriate tools and platforms we use to teach children to code are full of cute characters, animations, amazing multimedia assets all coming together, and the things that tiny children produce constantly amaze us and their parents. So it's a super creative activity. It's nothing like that kind of dark, murky world of impenetrable binary code.
And sure. And so say my child's learned a bit with you. Is this stuff him and I can interact together on? Is there the collaborative
absolutely.
stuff we
find that the children always want to show someone. They want to show off to grandma, or they want to show off to their parents. They can share the files they create with safe adults that they choose. And you can also, if you're using your own device, if you've got an online class, you'll be using your own device at home. All their creations will be there for them to show you, and you can then extend them. And the skills that they learn will allow them to extend the kind of project that we show them how to make step by step. And I'm sure that, with an interested parent, they could really riff on that and create some very cool things. The idea with our curriculum pathway is that they, similar to learning a language, their own language or a second language, they learn a number of set instructions in a certain sequence in a number of different settings. And then once they've done that a few times, we actually grade them at the end in a sort of award challenge. It's a bit like a karate belt type situation. And they show us how much they've remembered, how much they can use on their own independently. And that really is the marker of fluency.
Cool.
So those kids are going to come home and say, I've made this thing, can I show you? And you say, of course. And then you say, how did you do that? And they very confidently show you. And then you can mimic that sequence with a whole different world, a different background, different set of characters, and then reinforce it.
And they've got a bit of agency over all that.
They develop agency, and we notice a real increase in confidence. A lot of children aren't the sporty ones. Their children don't really know what to encourage them to get into. Many of our students are SEN as well, and perhaps are struggling with a traditional curriculum. And my son very much struggled with writing and fine motor skills, and he expressed himself through these amazing coded sequences of Star Wars-inspired space exploration far more fluently than he did for a number of years in written English.
But I'm sure it also appeals to the kids, the kids that are into sport and aren't really into school at all.
Yeah.
It's quite a broad, it used to be a sort of geeky thing tucked away. It's not
absolutely
really
trying
like
to bust
anymore,
that myth.
Yeah.
I've never met a child who didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
Of any type of character.
Cool. A great story there. So a fast-changing world and a fast-changing area within a fast-changing world. What's next for coding, and what implications does that have for you and teaching kids?
Yeah. So there's a huge buzz around AI tools at the moment, and quite rightly so. If we think back to kind of, a year ago, it was all about voice activation. There's always going to be some new thing.
Yeah.
But at the base of it all is an understanding of how technology works and how we can utilize it and how we can give it instructions to do things that benefit us as humans. So there will always be room for people of all ages, but I would argue children in particular, learning these skills and developing a fluency in coding. And the very basic seeming languages that we teach at these young ages are teaching very grown-up concepts in coding that you might encounter as an undergraduate computer science student. Decomposition, cutting big problems down into small steps and pieces, repetition, triggering events. They just get a green flag to start the action and then repeat. But in that sequence, there's many concepts that are the building blocks of coding in any language. So what we're really teaching them is fluency and comfort and confidence with technology, to use it in a really positive, conscious and creative way. And then that gives them almost the grammar to understand any future language that may come along.
There's visual coding, which is more accessible to people. You can see things moving around. And then there's coding, which is lots of symbols that no one understands. Obviously not no one.
All kids understand them.
Yes. So do you teach them both?
Yeah, so we do. We teach ages 3 to 11. And at 3, as a rule, there's not a lot of screen-based coding. It's more acting out algorithms, sets of instructions. Brushing your teeth is an algorithm. It's a set of instructions you have to do in a certain order, otherwise things go very wrong.
Okay, got it.
Making a jam sandwich is also an algorithm. You can explain it that way.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of physical things that we teach them, and we teach them some how to code nursery rhymes where the teacher is doing the interacting with the screen and they're shouting out the instructions. Once they move on to sort of age 4 and 5, they are then able to sit down with a tablet and drag jigsaw type blocks on the screen together to clip them together in a set of instructions in that algorithm. So that might be green flag to start, take 5 steps to the right, jump up and down, turn purple, disappear, those kinds of instructions. And when they press go, it runs that sequence of code, and they're delighted that what they conjured up in their imagination is now happening.
And they error test, because that can go wrong.
Exactly. And debugging is one of the main skills we teach them. Persevering. Did it do what you expected it to do? It's not about what I expect it to do, but you're in charge, you're the boss. And children absolutely love that, because they're so precious few times that they're in charge of things in their home, in their school, in their nursery. And this is a time that they get to be bossy, as we tell them, within reason. So once they're on the screen-based coding, that's icon-based blocks. They've got labels which are icons, so you don't need to be able to read, which is really, really important, because kids, before they can read, can absolutely code.
Yeah.
So once they've mastered Scratch, then they're ready to then move on around age 8 to Minecraft coding, which we call modifying Minecraft. And that involves basic introductory typing skills. So that's why we retain it for age 8 and up. And that really allows them to play with Minecraft and develop master skills and powers to create lots and lots of things at once, which would not ordinarily take them a lot longer. And then from age 9, they can even build their own website using HTML, a proper adult coding language.
Okay, right, pretty serious. Good. So your Mama Codes last from kind of 3 to 9, is that the main age?
3 to 11, actually. Okay,
sorry.
And you can join at any time during that. We have introductory levels and courses at any point. But if you did join at 3, there would be fresh material to sort of move through the levels, a bit like a swimming school.
Okay, fantastic.
Swimming school approach.
I'm sold. Don't know about you at home, but so how much classic sales? But how do we find out more?
Yeah.
I'm sure parents are still sort of not wary of it, but really want to know the experience of their child. How do they?
Absolutely. So we always offer a free taster session online. So that children and families can give it a go, and they can experience it. They can see how demanding it might be or not of their children, and how much their children might need to sit down or not. And once they've had that experience, then they can decide if they want to book on for like a half-term block or a full-term block. Obviously, we discount more if you book a longer block. And with Hank's membership discount, you can get 20% off any class, course or camp in the holidays.
Amazing, cool. Well, I don't know about you at home, but it's taken something I was slightly like, coding, not so sure, and it kind of really disarmed it, made it much more accessible, which I think was your whole mission statement.
Yeah, and that's the journey I went on as a parent too. We absolutely don't want to be this kind of terrifying, advanced set of parents pushing down this agenda. We're just parents who wanted to feel better about technology and screen time and find a way to encourage our kids to get involved and develop these brilliant skills at the same time.
Well, that's a lovely message. That's great. As Liane said, there's a discount code. Check out the Hank website, and that'll lead you through to Mama Codes and see if there's a course for you. I'm sure there is. Sounds really exciting, and I think, Easter holidays coming up. We
absolutely.
could be looking into that.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Liane. Thanks.